I'm Chanale, and this is the weekly squeeze on Moral Edge. So I have to make a confession. Personally, I have not been to any of the Shimmy's restaurants yet. And I say yet because at this point, I feel like I am literally the last person in the Anglo-Aliyah world who hasn't. Everyone who comes to Israel, everyone who visits here ends up there. Everyone who lives in the Golan talks about it. The Modi'in location opened in 2024 and people were losing their minds. Smash burgers, crispy chicken, house-made pastrami, 5 kinds of fries. Fat-free. You get fat for free. Just kidding. Reasonable prices. And 100% kosher. Actually, 100% kosher. No issues with that. The kind where you eat the food, you forget about the kashrus because it's just so delicious. It's irrelevant. And that alone is a story worth telling in Israel, where kosher meat dining has historically involved some compromises you'd rather not think about it. But that's not actually why Shimmy Shain is sitting across from me today. Shimon is from Crown Heights. He came to Jerusalem in 2005 for culinary school, met his wife Sarah on the walk there in the mornings, married her 6 months later, went back to America, ran a Jewish Montessori school in Los Angeles, and spent the next decade planning to make his million before coming back to Israel. Sadly, he did not make his million. He lost more than that. And in 2016, with 6 kids and almost no Hebrew and minimal capital, he made Aliyah anyway. Just for that, give this video a big thumbs up. Landed in Chispin in the southern Golan Heights. There were no available rental spaces, so he found a used food truck that had belonged to a coffee chain, drove it up to the Golan, and started selling sushi. And because food doesn't require language, it worked. Then the business nearly collapsed. Then COVID. Then a 60,000 shekel of VAT debt. And in the middle of all that, he made a commitment to give charity, to give tzedakah. Before the recovery, before things stabilized, while he was still falling. And when things turned around, he called it miracles. Now there are 6 locations, a 7th opening in Jerusalem, a permit to enter IDF bases across northern Israel, and a policy that gives every soldier who walks into the restaurant a discount. I want to know how a person builds something like that, what they hold on to when the math stops working, and what it means to plant yourself somewhere and decide that it owes you nothing and you owe it everything. Shimmy Shain, welcome to Moral Edge.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. I was speaking to my friend Odelia. Shout out to Odelia. And I'm looking for interesting guests, people who've made things happen, people who've taken risks, have interesting stories. And she was like, you got to speak to the Shains. I'm like, who? And she told me a little bit about you. And I said, make it happen. So here you are. Yes. It's for the good things that you do. So you came to culinary school. We're going to go back a little bit into your Chabad past, but first let's just give people the general outline, okay, what brought you here to Israel. So you came, you have a passion for cooking, you came to culinary school, you met your wife Sarah, fast decision, I mean, depending the community, but you got married and you went into the food business. Okay, yes. Was that before you already made Aliyah? You were deciding to live here? What was that decision?
So this was about 20 years ago. I came just for the year, to culinary school for the year. Sarah, I came from New York. Sarah from Los Angeles. We both came just to study for a year. And after getting married, we thought we'll go quickly back to America, like we said, make some money, and then come back. But that didn't work as planned.
Isn't it interesting, though, how people come here and then think, we'll just go back to America and, get the cash, but, it's the golden in Medina, but if it's not bashert, it's not bashert.
100%. And that's really, I think, the whole, what I'm trying to give over right now is Hashem's in control. You could have good mazal in Israel, in America, wherever it's meant to be. But don't think because I'm here in Israel, it's going to have to be harder. Actually, we thank God life has been easier and I would say more enjoyable and more fulfilling since coming to Israel.
Wow. I like that you say that straight up. And you have not been without challenges. First of all, just living here as an Anglo, there's a struggle with the language, going through an epidemic in a country that had one of the strictest restrictions in the world. Then obviously the wars, October 7th, financial challenges. I want you to describe where you are today, and then take us back to someone who's thinking that maybe they can do something like you're doing, and what the process was.
So today, thank God, we employ about 100 employees in our company. I never thought in my wildest dreams
100 people would work for you?
That it wasn't even part of the vision. We just slowly built up. When we originally started, it was a food truck in the Golan. And again, it was out of necessity. Like, I realized I can't have a job and support my family with a regular job.
How much money can you make on a food truck? Asking for a friend. I don't cook.
You have to have a very good location. So thank God, Chispin was a very good location, and we were one of the first food trucks in Israel. Today it's much, much harder.
You just said you were one of the first food trucks in Israel?
Yes.
Food trucks are a thing now. They have food truck festivals. There's one in Tel Aviv happening right now.
Back then, 9 years ago, I had to call every manufacturer around Israel, and nobody even wanted to speak to me about a food truck. People who build trailers, nobody even knew what food trucks were.
What about an ice cream truck? That annoying machine that plays out-of-tune music 24 hours. It's not the same dynamics.
No, nobody. They didn't even have the proper equipment in Israel that you put on a food truck that while you're driving, the things don't tip over. There was a lot of custom building. Luckily, I found one company in Kfar Saba that built one truck for Cofix. I realized very quickly I can't afford to build one myself, because back then it was like 200,000 shekels. Today they're bringing them from China. But back then it was
Timu trucks?
they bring them for China. You could get for 50, 60,000 shekels.
Is a food truck just a glorified truck with a commercial kitchen inside?
You have a sewer system. You have a water tank, power. There's a lot that goes into it. But getting back to your question, how much you can make on a food truck, you can make a nice amount of money, but it's very, very hard work. And I didn't see my family. I really didn't. I wasn't home.
A lot of people in the restaurant business say that. It's a very high risk. For years, my in-laws were in the restaurant business, and when it's good, it's great. And when the season is hopping, it's great. But a lot of tears are cried over the management of the incoming and outgoing food and the customers and getting it right and just dealing with things that are outside of your control.
But I think it's like that in every business. I think you hear more about the food business and the restaurant business because a lot of people go into it that don't really have knowledge about the food business. They think they make a good chant at home, so they could now open up a food truck or open up a restaurant. But there's so much more that goes into it's like any business, having a successful business, your podcast, whatever. I have a son actually who built up a very successful YouTube channel when he was 14 years old. All his friends wanted a copy, but nobody got close. Every business has its challenges, and actually that son today is now going to be managing the Jerusalem location because he got past his heyday in the YouTube.
Wow.
But
he's moving on to the family business.
But it's every business is hard. Every business has its challenges. You have to have a lot of bitachon, and one thing that you have running any business is you really see Hashem's hand in what you're doing. You see, wow. How is it possible that every month I end up making the same amount of money? I had some stronger days, some weaker days, but at the end of the month, it was about the same amount of money. So you need miracles, and you need a lot of bitachon.
Why didn't you open a standalone brick and mortar restaurant? What was the appeal of a food truck?
We didn't have the capital for a restaurant back then.
Wow, it was just like you wanted to get food out. You weren't going to do it from your kitchen, so what was the other option?
We actually started in our kitchen. We started doing sushi once a week from our kitchen. That was our trial. We did that for about a half a year. I saw it was selling out. We would do once a week. So then I said, okay, we'll take it to the next level. Let's do a food truck. I'll tell you, the original plan was to actually take the food truck and travel around with it, do one day in each yishuv. But I didn't realize that you have to have a strong car to tow it. And we couldn't afford that.
Yeah, like a GMC.
You need a very strong one, which in Israel is very, very expensive. So it actually became a permanent food truck just sitting in one place.
Well, I am working now independently. I have essentially my own business here in Israel, and I have to hire an accountant, and I have a lawyer, and things can be really technical. And when you get into the weeds of bureaucracy, I mean, Israel is famous for not making it easy for small business owners. Businesses were decimated during COVID. I mean, you're not going to come here and get a free ride because there's a war or because there's an
internet. Right now, the last 2 years, we didn't get any compensation.
I know, there's no tourism.
Yeah.
Tough luck. Mm-hmm. I mean, the artists barely made it. Restaurants closed. You would know the numbers better than I do. So what does it actually take to survive building something here that maybe would have been sustainable in America with small business loans and just the amount of traffic? Or, I mean, there's less taxes, less red tape. Don't get me wrong. It could be that the restaurant business is super challenging wherever you do it, but I know that Israel is famous for, like, really.
So one thing that I learned is whatever you're going to do, try to master it. And once you master a profession, no matter where you are, you'll be able to figure out how to get through it. And then the people also work with you. I'll tell you, you're saying the bureaucracy. So back then, 9 years ago, the Misrad HaBriyut didn't even know about food trucks. They didn't know how to certify a food truck. I came to them with a broken Hebrew, and they felt bad for me, and they worked with me. So I helped educate them. I told them how they did in America, how they certified food trucks in America, and I tried to help them create protocol for Israel being a new Oleh.
So it might be to your advantage
100%.
that you come here like with a different mentality. I know, however, you've said it a number of times, the financial challenges of opening a business here and being in debt and taking that risk are big enough to intimidate even the most secured businessmen that might want to move here with their capital and invest and open something and live out their dreams. So bring me a little more into the nitty gritty of, like you said, you didn't see your kids, right? But here you are. I'm sure you see your kids now. You said you have 100 employees. You've come a long way. Describe a little more the transformation from the food truck and the nights and the days and the hours and just all of it to a point that you're here on the Moral Edge talking about the chain.
I actually just came from a Eshkol, and I was able to sit down and have lunch with my son who's managing. So my schedule is now much different than it was back then. But that was really the vision. Once I realized, if I need to scale it to a point where I could really choose what I'm going to focus on. And that was really, so one thing that I learned, and it applies to any business, no matter where it is in the world, you either have to be very small or very big, very quick. In America, it's the same way. The number, I don't think the numbers are that much different in Israel. It's just about understanding how to work. You just have to charge different pricing, come up with different models.
You mean like exclusive fine dining or selling hundreds of burgers a night?
So first of all, fine dining is known to not even make money. Most fine dining restaurants actually
just a business card for the chef.
Something like that. In the industry, it's known that you're lucky if you do maybe 2 or 3% profit. And most of them don't even do that. So most fine dining to begin with, it's very, very costly. The staff, the amount of work that goes into the prep, and it's very hard to pass on all that cost. And then the inconsistency of traffic, it's very, very hard to make it. So we specifically chose to do higher end fast food, because fast food you couldn't, there's a fairly decent profit margin, but you have to have very, very strict systems. So I didn't answer your original question. We should probably go back to there.
Tell us about what you were making, why the customer demand, how it went viral, how people wanted it more, what you are serving now. Obviously, you know the mentality of the customer.
So we started off back in 2017. Actually, we opened up the food truck on our 1-year Aliyah anniversary. We opened up the food truck. It was actually very important to have the truck delivered and open for that day. So it helped me push and get through everything. And I let everyone know that's when we're going to open it. So I think that's also important. Like when you're opening up a business, let the people know I'm opening up tomorrow or I'm opening up on a certain date. So that way you really push yourself to get there, and you'll find a way to get there. So we start off, first of all, sushi in the house, then sushi on the truck. And now the truck that I got was a rental, and it was built for Kofix, the 5 shekel brand. It had a iced coffee machine on it, and it had a sandwich maker. And I started looking at the equipment. I said, okay, well, how can I use this? And that's how I slowly built my menu. So it was basically comfort foods, cheese melts, iced coffee, sushi. So it was whatever I knew how to make, and just focusing on comfort foods. Thank God it was received very well. I remember when telling people about my plan for the future. I remember sitting like in the pool in Chispin and speaking to my friends, and I was telling them about this food truck, and everyone thought I was crazy. Nobody even people who knew food trucks from America, they said, nah, that's not going to go over in Chispin. I don't think you'll be able to make it here. But I had to take that risk, and I took that risk, and I rented it for, I think I committed to 6 months. And thank God we got started, and the menu built like that.
What's it like working with suppliers, getting fruits and vegetables on time, all smooth sailing in that regard?
Yeah, I haven't had any major issues, and luckily I was close enough to a local grocery, so if I was short on something, I could always run in.
So what were the first challenges? Besides, let's say, you got yourself the truck, you start outfitting it with the appliances that you need. There's a story here.
100%. So the first challenge was, actually the way I got permission to put the food truck in Chispin is because I told them that I plan on moving it after the summer. So I asked them if I could get permission for the summer, for July, August. It's very busy in Chispin. All the tourists come there. Give me permission, give me a spot for July, August. At the end of the summer, I'm going to start traveling around. It came the end of the summer. Thank God we did fairly good in July and August. And I realized at that point, like I said before, I realized I need a very strong vehicle. A regular family vehicle is not going to be able to tow it. I couldn't afford that. I tried every which way. So those were really those first challenges. The sticker shock of what it costs for a vehicle here in Israel. But it's always about getting creative. So I let the people of the Vad and Chispin know that I'm not going to be able to move it. Could you give me a permanent spot? It got to a point where they actually issued me a letter that I have to shut down the truck.
They didn't. So all these little caravans that you see when you're driving through the country, those they have some sort of lease on the location. I always just thought like they broke down and then they decided to just throw a coffee shop wherever it is on the way to Modi'in. Let's say
the local motzah gives a rishon for that.
Okay, so you can't just squat and sell food wherever you want.
Not at all.
Okay,
so I had to actually coordinate. I had to get permission from my motzah. I had to get a letter from the yishuv that they are okay with it.
Okay,
and with that I was able to open. So I think we're already September, October. They see it's dragging on, and I'm not moving the truck. And they're getting complaints from certain residents that I'm taking up a few parking spots, and it's annoying. But most of the residents in Chispin and the surrounding area are really benefiting from the truck. So they finally issued me a letter that I have to shut down, either find a solution to move around or shut it down. So I let people know that I'm shutting down soon. As soon as the community heard that I'm shutting down, they all got together and they wrote letters to the Vad and they said, how dare you do this?
Advocated for you guys.
They advocated for us to a point where the Vad from the Vad came to me and they said, okay, Shimon, we're going to give you permanent status. You could choose anywhere you want in Chispin. The whole place is open. You pick your place. And that's yours.
You're actually going to become the mayor of Chispin. You're going to get the premium VIP parking spot next to the mayor. Okay, so what I'm hearing here is that, food is so much related to culture, to how we connect with friends and family, how we celebrate, even how we mourn. Shiva, everybody's bringing food. Like, that's all we need to do is eat. So clearly the food is communicating something that maybe your broken Hebrew can't, but you're telling people, we care about you because we're making the most delicious food. We're making it affordable and we're making it local, right? So you're making a living at this point, or at this point you're just like, okay, where things are working out. Let's just keep things the way they are. Or did something trigger the desire to go big?
So finally, we get permission to be in Chispin. We got a permanent spot. the community. So that was my first lesson. The community, it's really, really different over here in Israel. The community really comes behind. So if they believe in something, they're gonna fight and they're gonna make sure it happens, and they'll come behind you. And that was my first experience of experiencing. These were Israelis, and the Israelis said, "How dare you do that to Inu Oleh?" I was actually the first Oleh to Chispin. We're the first family who made Aliyah straight from out of Israel to Israel. Most other families, English-speaking families, they live in Beit Shemesh or other places before.
So you didn't have a soft landing.
We purposely did that. We wanted to right away just jump in. So now let's go forward. Now, thank God we're making a living. We're making a decent living. Definitely better than if I got a paycheck from a local school working in their kitchen. And now I'm like, okay. And I had a good staff. I built up a good staff. I said, okay, what's next? I'm a person who likes to build. I could get bored if I'm doing the same thing for long periods of time. I could stay focused for a long period of time, but then I have to continue. So an opportunity came up. There was a kiosk at the entrance to Nachal El Al, which is a very famous water stream in the Golan, about 10 minutes from Chispin. And there's someone who has a camping village right at the entrance in Avnei Eitan. And the guy came to me, he said, wow, you're doing something really good here. I think if you did something very similar, I have a kiosk. If you did something similar, I think you'll do very well at the entrance to the water hike. There's always buses and tons of people passing through. I went there and it was very, very busy. Obviously seasonal, but it seemed busy enough that it made sense. So we take this kiosk at the entrance to Nachal El Al, fill it up, stock it up with all the supplies, get it ready for the busy summer season. It's, I think, about April time when we get ready to open. The place really opens like very big at the beginning. The first 2-3 months, we're doing really, really well. Selling out of, I actually had ice cream there, a lot of ice cream. I had to have the guy come like a few times a day just to refill. About 2 months, 2-3 months later, after launching, all of a sudden one day I wake up and there's a message. The water stream is shut down. Not going to be any tourists there anymore, at least for right now. The message from the guy who owns the space there. He said you have to think about what you want to do, but they shut down the water stream because there was some bacteria there. And that's where you mentioned before about the 60,000 shekel debt to mom, because we were selling so much. I didn't even have a chance to start paying any of our invoices. And we basically come to a point I have about 200 between the suppliers and the banks and everything, over 200,000 worth of debt. Oy. And my place is shut down. At first I thought it might be for a week, maybe 2 weeks. It ended up dragging on for actually almost about a year. We actually end up closing that location down, and I go back to working on my food truck. I let the workers go because at that point I had workers, let them go, and I start working myself on the original food truck. At that point, now my wife was used to seeing me at home. Because
never a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I had workers. I had 2 locations, so I was able to afford to have some workers and do some of the hours myself. I go home, I tell my family, listen, we just experienced some big challenges. I'm not going to be around. I calculated, I said, I'm probably not going to be around for the next 2 years. I'll have to work myself for about 2 years just to pay off all the debt, to get back on our feet. But I said one thing that I'll do. So this was the point where I said, this is September of 2019, I believe, or 2020, September of 2020. I make that commitment when basically I went to a bunch of business advisors and everyone I could consult with, everyone told me just shut down your business, go find a job.
Cut your losses. Yeah, don't add any more money into this never-ending pit.
100%. So
okay.
That was the advice that we got at that point. I said, listen, we're going to try one last thing. I said, I'm ready to recommit myself for the next 2 years to get things back on its feet. I said, Hashem, please be my partner in this business. And that's when we made the commitment to start giving 1% from whatever our revenue was, 1% to local people and 8. Whatever I take home, today we give 20%. But 1%, just to put that in perspective, in the food business, you're doing good if you're making 10% profit margin.
So when you say you gave it to people in the community, in what form?
So I started this thing. I reached out to a local rabbi that I was close with, and I said on a monthly basis, he's going to be my shaliach. I'm going to give him a certain, whatever that 1% is. And
Can you give us a number, a ballpark figure, what the number looked like in a good month?
Back then it was it was one location, so it was like maybe 600, 700, 800 shekels a month.
Okay,
900.
Just a small minimal commitment, but something kavua. This is what you're doing no matter what.
Yeah. Just to put things in perspective, back then, even 100 shekels was like me giving someone 100,000 shekels. That's how hard it was.
You were completely broke.
Not just completely broke.
Deeply in debt.
Deeply in debt, and we couldn't even put food on our table.
So in the world, you would think the last decision a person should make who doesn't have 2 cents to rub together is to make another commitment on top of my charity and on top of my children's, whatever it is we pay for Jewish education, whatever we pay for modest clothing, whatever it was we pay for a religious lifestyle. Let me throw in another 700 shekel at it because this is my commitment to God.
100%. I was at a very desperate point and I tried everything else and I said, okay, we're going to try at least this one last thing. I said, God, and I even write on it when I make the bank transfer, it says, Bavor Shutafut HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the partnership with God. And I transferred to the local rabbi and I asked him to distribute to families that he knows are in need.
Is this something you're still doing today?
Still do today. Whenever I open up a new location.
Can I ask you now how many shekels a month it is?
Baruch Hashem, it's a very large amount at this point.
I'm happy to hear.
But every location is to a local rabbi in that community. And then I ask them to distribute to locals.
So people who come to eat at you are essentially doing a mitzvah. They're participating and making sure other people get the food.
100%.
I absolutely love that. And then you saw how quick was the fix? I want to know. Should I go into the restaurant business and, I'm going to send $1 million on committing to Chabad worldwide so that my restaurant works. There's more to it than that, though.
I think it's taking your challenges and I try to explain to people, Hashem is your coach. Hashem is your coach. Just like when you go to the gym, there's a coach who's always pushing you to your limits. Hashem is trying to push you to the limits, but to make you a better version of yourself. And when you feel when you feel you can't do any more, before you get to your breaking point, Hashem will stop it. I believe.
Well, you're saying in retrospect, as someone who, were you on the floor? Were you crying to your wife? Were you saying what are we going to do? Were there very dark nights?
100%. There was
maybe you're under, I want you to really express what it means to be in that kind of debt. Never mind, half the people in this country are in chronic debt, but there's levels. There are levels.
So I'll tell you the point that really broke me. First of all, there were many days that my wife would go picking local fruit trees in order to have some food in the house. Okay. It got to a point, the point that really broke me, and I said, I can't continue this way, was Hanukkah. I couldn't afford to give even a little present to my kids. There was a local organization that actually gave me presents to give to my kids, and I said, no, I can't live this way. I'm going to have to figure out how to dig myself out of this.
You have the talent. You're actually a trained chef. Now we have this huge food culture, an entire magazine, Fleishik's magazine. I know Shifra and their team, and they're amazing. And people go to convention centers just to taste all the new kosher food products. Is this restaurant catered for the foodie? Do you get a tremendous amount of satisfaction? Are you motivated by bringing in all these yummy ingredients and trying new recipes? I know that you brought in this famous chef who I don't personally know, but people were really excited about it. So how did you tell us a little bit about when things picked up and they got really fancy?
First of all, where you asked how quick it picked up.
Right.
So literally a week after making this commitment, I made the first commitment was September 1st. I actually have a picture on my phone I could show you after, because I kept snapshots of everything. About a week later, I get a random phone call from Channel 11 which I had no idea who they were back then, Khan. And they asked if they could do an episode on us because they heard we're one of the first food trucks in Israel. And Amen Oleh, they thought it would be an interesting story.
Hey, lucky break.
It was actually Nefesh B'Nefesh. I think it was coordinated with Nefesh B'Nefesh, but randomly, I didn't reach out to anyone. They reached out to me. And they end up doing they do a story on us. It goes viral. It had over 500,000 views in the first day on Facebook and YouTube. And also whatever, I didn't really understand the impact, but literally for 2 years after even 2 years later, I still had customers coming from that initial interview that they did with us. About 3-4 years ago, we got to a point where we were ready to really expand to the center of Israel. And before we did that, I wanted to bring on someone who's really, really like top notch. I can make decent food, but I wanted someone who could do, because if I'm going to compete in the center of Israel, it needs to be someone really above my pay grade.
Is there a competitive dining industry community here?
For sure.
For sure, yeah. I mean, we're in Israel. I'm sure that we have the most delicious food here and delicious ingredients, and everything is sourced local. I mean, they're not bringing fruits and, I mean, they are, but not, I mean, it's a fresh menu for the most part.
The ingredients here are, especially fruits and vegetables, are much higher quality than we're able to find in America. So we ended up hiring, so I asked a bunch of people who has a really good restaurant, and I described what I'm looking for. I want fast food, but on the, like something special. And people kept on saying Crave, Bodega, right? You heard of those places.
Sure.
Okay. And so I asked who's behind those places. And it actually was, and also I knew from California, Tierra Sor at the Herzog Winery. And it happened to be the same chef behind all of those concepts.
It's a secret sauce.
Which is
somebody
Todd,
who knows how to make a secret
Todd
sauce.
Aarons.
Okay.
He made Aliyah about 2 years before me, and he started Crave, and then he went on and he did Bodega. I reached out to him, and thank God we were able to come to an agreement, and he's basically our full-time chef.
What's your signature dish for people who...
Our smash burgers.
I don't think I've had it. Is that a fake cheese?
It has it has an option of fake
one of the okay. So you can customize
and
it
bacon.
And bacon and fake bacon, whatever it is.
Well, Chef Todd calls it. He says bacon is just a certain process you do to the meat. So
it's essentially the same thing, just kosher.
Yeah.
Okay.
From a kosher animal.
So and I know that people are really into this place. Sometimes when it's heavy tourist season, there's lines. It's hectic. Is your family involved? Are you still giving up a huge portion of your time for this? Or like you said earlier, you had some time to actually have a sit-down lunch today. So my question is, here in Israel, we have a 6-day workday. And when you're in the food business, you're also cooking Motzei Shabbat. When do you actually have time to live your life? And this is really for the people watching who want to do this kind of work. Some people come here and they invest in real estate or they go into high tech. But for those who are more of like the hands-on kind that want to make something and sell something in food business or whatever it is, it's interesting for them to hear.
It's seasons. There are times when I won't see my family for a week or two. I'll get home after everyone's sleeping, leave before everyone's even up. And there are times that I get to spend a little time, but my head's always thinking about the business. So my wife knows, even if we're driving in the middle of the week to a wedding and it could be 10 o'clock at night, I could be getting phone calls from the business and I have to be available for it. So I really have, at this point, I have 0 time off, but I have all the time off that I want. It's
like anything that you care about, you want to invest all your time, but are you working to live or living to work?
You don't really have a choice when you have so many locations running. There's always things coming up, and you just have to be always available.
You've become like a media darling. I saw on your website, there's a number of interviews that were done about you, articles. What do you think it is that people love so much and are attracted to so much? What's so appealing about what you're doing? Is it the sense of community? Is it the sense of we're in this together? Is it just how you started off? Because you were describing that initial boost from the yeshuv.
I think each interview that we had was really from a different perspective. Very recently, we were on Channel 13, But it's always, everyone has their own perspective and their own thing, their own
Direction, how they
direction.
their angle.
But the main thing is really people like to hear about challenges because they're real. And I'm very honest when I speak to people. There are massive challenges, and I'm also very open and honest about the challenges that we faced. And even today, the last 2 years have been very, very hard. We as a company took massive losses.
Well, we haven't recovered from COVID. We haven't recovered
100%.
from October 7th. And then we have the Iran wars. And every single time they close the airports, business owners, small business owners, medium-sized business owners, large business owners cry themselves to sleep.
I'll tell you something that actually will be interesting for people to hear. So right at the beginning of the war, everyone was donating a lot. We were actually
After October 7th.
After October 7th.
Gear, food, money, whatever they could.
Everything.
Right.
We were actually, for the first 6 months, people were sending us funds to just give out food to the soldiers. We actually had a food truck in the Golan. We still have a food truck there that travels around to the army bases. And we were actually, for a good 6 months, giving out just free food all day. It got to a certain point where it really dried up. But even until today, people are still expect free food. And I get calls all the time. Oh, I have a group of 80 soldiers, and I'd love to give them free food.
Right.
And I have to explain to them. Back then, I was able to because people gave donations and they really pitched in. I said, me as a business, I don't even have the means anymore to be able to. It's been a massive challenge the last 2 years.
Small business owners weren't exactly rewarded for the sacrifices they made, whether they wanted to make them or not.
We got zero back from the government. Nothing. Our business was, even if certain locations were doing less revenue, but as a whole, since I was constantly adding locations, as a whole, our business is growing. So we didn't qualify for anything. So it's been really, to be really open, right now, it's still a massive challenge. You just have to keep on pushing through. Keep on pushing through. We're trying to get our Jerusalem location open. It should open any day now.
What's the name of the restaurant?
Shimmy's Ramat Eshkol.
Okay.
And actually, our next place after Jerusalem is actually to come to Beit Shemesh.
Yay! Yes. You better do delivery.
For sure.
Okay,
on Walt
good.
and everything. Yeah.
I'm so excited. I want to wrap up with a more personal question, because as somebody who grew up with the Chabad Hasidus, the Chabad education, it was always in the background, in the foreground, how the Lubavitch Rebbe felt about Eretz Yisrael. Lubavitch, I wouldn't say, is the most Zionistic, Zioni organization on the planet, but the Rebbe spoke very strongly about supporting the soldiers, obviously not giving away land, never sacrificing our borders on behalf of peace with enemies that you can't make peace with. So you always knew that Israel was extremely important for the Jews, the safety of Israel and all that. Did that play a role in making Aliyah? And today, you don't live in Beit Shemesh, you live how far from here?
Ramat Golan, 3 hours.
3 hours. You drove 3 hours.
Well, I was visiting our restaurants over here in the center.
Amazing. So it's not exactly, it's a trip even to the airport. It's a trip to the Kotel. It's.
I left my house this morning at 8 in the morning, and I've been on the road all day.
And even though it's a small country, you could be in 10 different cities over the course of the day. And it's hot, really hot today. So that's a little bit exhausting. But here you are raising your kids. The army is going to be a reality. They're probably speaking Hebrew far better than you and your wife will ever speak. You made these enormous sacrifices for them, right? For their future. What do you see in your kids now, in your life here, that tells you that all of this is worth it?
So at the beginning, it was challenging for the kids, but right now, my oldest, actually, he just finished army service, is the one who's going to be managing our location in Jerusalem. But they're now appreciating it. Our kids are really appreciating it and saying, wow, this is a very fulfilling life. Just the community, the friends that they're making. But like anything, at the beginning, it's challenging. In the long run, as you get through that and you look back, today, our kids appreciate that we're here.
So no regrets?
No. And even right now, even 2 years ago, they were constantly saying, oh, I want to move back to Los Angeles, or it's already out of their head that
this is home 100%. This is where, they see their father invest blood, sweat, and tears in building something that can last, that will last, God willing, for generations.
Well, that's really, I would say that actually made it a little easier because they're seeing now that, you know what, they could stay here and actually continue the family business. So I'm putting, and I tell them that, and they see that, and they actually, as soon as they get old enough to work in the business, five of our kids are boys, one girl. As soon as they get old enough, they work on our, just like any other worker. They're working in the kitchen. They get paid like everyone else. They get the same conditions like everyone else. But so that's probably been something helpful for them, seeing that, okay, we could just continue this. We don't have to run anywhere.
It's so important to give your kids opportunity wherever they are, but certainly if they're living in Israel also, they never have this yearning to maybe go chase a dream. Like we were talking about earlier, you went to America to look for the money and you didn't even find it. And then you came here, and you know what? Maybe eventually you would have found it in America with blood, sweat, and tears, but at least here you have the advantage of living in a Jewish country, paying taxes to a Jewish country, feeding Jewish bellies, and making Jewish people happy from abroad and locally. 4 quick questions before I let you go. One thing about Israeli bureaucracy that still makes you crazy? I
would say the mom. I would say the
tax.
Well,
everyone likes taxes.
No. So the thing that drives me crazy is the pricing includes tax.
Okay.
So 18% of what you paid for your burger, I don't even see that. In America, it's plus tax. You paid 30. You know, it says listed $20 for your burger, and then you come to the cash register, you're paying 25. But you know.
5 is going to the government.
Yeah, but it's made very clear.
Why am I paying 800 shekel for it? But 40% is going for
18% of every transaction we never even see.
And that's aside from all the other taxes.
Yes, if you didn't make any profit.
I mean, there's no question. We live in a partially socialized country. I mean, at the same time, we're not paying tuition and health insurance. So it's coming out of someone's pocket, so you feel it at your burger.
So when you pay for your burger, you're paying for your kids' tuition.
Yeah. Okay. At least you're getting a good meal.
And good healthcare. I think we have a very good healthcare system.
Well, if you're going to keep eating smash burgers, you're going to need good healthcare. October 7th.
Yes.
Did it change you, break you, or just make you stronger?
I think it made us all realize that we need to be there to protect ourselves. And nobody's going to stand up for us. So to really see firsthand that over the last 3 years, we had to really on a daily basis, we're fighting for ourselves, for our survival. And you see everyone, Europe, everyone, nobody really cares about us. So
they care about us a lot. They care to hate us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really brought it to the forefront. I never thought you would see hate like that in the open. I know I play on chess.com. I like to play chess a lot. And there are so many times as I'm playing a game, the guys just like saying really not nice things.
Why, they know you're Jewish?
I have the Israeli flag.
It's funny. My son is a gamer. And once in a while, he'll put an Israeli flag in. And I glance over a gamer, whatever, he's 11. I glance over his shoulder and I feel bad that I have to be concerned because he put his flag. They'll be like, drop your flags, and all these flags from all over the world. And my son is vulnerable because he's dropping an Israeli flag.
But we should be proud.
But we are proud, yeah. And also, you don't like it? Don't come here, Ken Sones. Stay in New York for all we care. We'll stay here. We have good food. We have good people. We don't need all the haters. You could stay right there, wherever you are. Best meal you've eaten in Israel that someone else cooked?
At Chef Todd's house.
I don't know, but how do I get an invitation?
So he's our chef, and once in a while he invites everyone, like our managers. We all have a meal at his house, for special occasions.
Like that. And he'll prepare something special.
And then he cooks in his kitchen,
and he goes crazy.
Stuff that you never tasted. Yeah, he's very creative.
I eat peas out of a can. I'm eating Fruity Pebbles in the morning.
His Chef Todd, he's our chef, is our executive chef.
I'm gonna have to come in.
He's at a different level.
Okay, I'm gonna have to come in, and that brings me to my last question. The person watching is coming to Israel. You are coming to Israel. Let me know in the show notes when you're coming to Israel, and they're coming to Shimmy's, open now in Jerusalem very soon, God willing. What are they ordering?
Either our crispy chicken or our smash. Those are two things you can't go wrong
You have
with.
a good coleslaw?
Not in our regular locations
Just
right
say
now.
yes. Just say yes. Have a coleslaw. We're calling it the Chanale coleslaw.
The Jerusalem one's gonna have a coleslaw.
Okay, perfect. And
Until
I'll be
now,
invited.
not.
I'll be invited for the opening of the new location.
We don't do official. I don't like to do official. Like,
As soon as the grill is open, let me know.
I'll let you know.
Okay,
for sure.
perfect. Shimmy, thank you so much for sharing your story, for sharing with our audience the real behind the scenes experience of taking something, a risk, a challenge, an investment, and putting all your faith in God above, because at the end of the day, wherever you live, God decides at the beginning of the year how much money you're going to make, what your success will look like, how much struggle it will take to get there. And the only thing really in your control is your attitude and how many calories you're going to ingest. So make a good choice, come to Israel, visit Shimmy's, and don't hesitate to make Aliyah, because this dream could be yours. Tell us.
So we have locations around Israel. We have 4 locations in the Golan.
So wherever you end up, Golan is 4 locations in the Golan. Which cities?
Chispin.
Okay, Chispin.
Chispin actually has 2 locations
Okay, nice.
because we live there. Then Bnei Yehuda, which is about 10 minutes away.
Okay, Bnei Yehuda.
In the mall. And then at the entrance to Nafach, which is an army base, a big army base, not too far from Katzrin. We have a location there. Now our Golan locations, each one is slightly different, because the Golan was where we're experimenting and trying to see what exactly we're going to be bringing as a brand. So
there's more exciting things to come?
We're always experimenting there. So
Okay.
between the locations, we're experimenting. But what we have in the center of Israel, between Hadera in the village, Modi'in, and Jerusalem, Ramat Eshkol, those are all pretty much the same menu: smash burgers, crispy chicken, Reuben sandwiches, and things like that.
Wow.
Our own beef hot dog that we make. Everything.
And the condiments also.
Condiments we make ourselves.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I can't wait. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe. Join us at moraledge.com, where we introduce you to the movers and shakers that make Israel the fantastic country that it is. This is Chanale on Moral Edge, the weekly squeeze, and I will see you next time.